welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted, Classic Season 4. I'm here with the wonderful Simon Hart. Say hello, Si.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yes, it's been a long time getting... We're also busy. I will say in the future there will be a very nice Jodie episode with Si and Fraser and Jeff when we can all be on the same page.
Just scheduling us is a tricky business.
Yeah, and Jeff's got a lot. Everybody's got a lot on their plate, and but Si and me Si was the one available to do this, and I wanted to do some more Troughton, and he picked season 4, so I said, well, that's a great pick, and we're going to discuss probably. It's a very unique season and an incredibly important season in the show. So let's start with this. How did you first experience season 4? Or how could you digest it when you were younger?
When I was younger, it was purely the Target books. That was the only way I had of sort of seeing this. So sort of growing up, that was a way, and they were mostly quite late Target books as well, which was interesting. So it was a very forgotten season. So you'd get scant bits and pieces in Doctor Who magazine about the season, but it really was, I think, the most forgotten season of Doctor Who at that point.
I think you're right, because so much was missing, and I'm the same way. I got as a present I worked in a comic shop when I was in high school, and they got the Target novels because they were finally available over here, and that would have been 1983, and they gave me one of every one they got. And I don't think all of those were in there. Smugglers I didn't get until the pandemic in hardcover.
No, I was going to say that was
one of the very last ones.
Very late 80s. So, yeah, I think originally you'd got the Cybermen, which was the moon base, and the 10th Planet, and that was it.
Yeah, I think, were those both in the Pinnacles? Were they both Pinnacles? No, they weren't Pinnacles. The Pinnacles are the 12 American books. They had different covers, different logos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think they were in there. And I was an avid... that comic shop also got the weekly. I have my very first issue hung up on my wall.
Uh-huh.
We got those. So that was like issue 50 was my first episode guide.
Mm-hmm.
I saved that. I've been selling off my old back issues, because I just, I've never gone back and reread them. And I kept 50.
That was the poster, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It had that great poster. Yeah, it did. But it also had a little in text one, and I put notes in it and stuff like that before the program guide. My program guide's fallen apart and got notes in it from which VHS tape it was on, so you knew where to go on the shelf. But yeah, that was it. I got it just from reading books and stuff, and until I'm old enough. I know I'm older than you, but I'm old enough to have done the loose cannons in the mail for VHS. You would send off VHS tapes and get a copy of a copy of a copy. Mm-hmm. So I watched some of them that way. And they were interesting. Like I was never. I still don't really have a good visual of the Smugglers or. The
Highlanders.
The Highlanders. Yes, thank you. The Highlanders in my head. But I do like the audio. I think BBC's done they did a wonderful job with the narrated audios.
Yeah, that was really my first exposure to them, I think, was the narrated audios. I really enjoyed those a lot more than the reconstructions.
Because, they're only like 6 pictures on some of those, so it's...
Yeah, really, exactly. And some scenes are not covered and things like that. It was very patchy what they got captured at the time.
Well, the Smuggler, it's only Australian edits, right? Is that the only thing that exists?
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's insane. That's insane to me. And I thought we were... I'm from a country, and I love this quote from George Carlin, in a country so uptight, where our founders are so uptight the English kicked them out. Because we have that New England Puritan kind of thing is still in our country. When it comes to certain things, but that Australia would cut out really innocuous little clips.
Some of them were very odd. Mm-hmm.
So, let's get started, because there are a lot of stories in this, and some of them are very transparent. We're going to start with the Smugglers. So,
yeah,
I think I need to listen to the audios again sometime, because it's been. I think I've only listened to it maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times. I've enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of pirate movies.
Yeah, so it's great fun.
Yeah, I like the historicals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of almost all the historicals.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where the great thing in sort of Doctor Who is, by the end of his run, Hartnell's tired. He can't remember his lines. He's not on form. But I think he's on tremendous form in The Smugglers. He sounds like he's having a whale of a time enjoying this. And I think he's enjoying the location filming down in Cornwall, so a long way away from TV Centre or whatever. And
yeah, I think you're right. I think they all are. The whole cast is so good, especially the regulars. I was a late convert to Ben and Polly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it took me and Vic's second episode was Power of the Daleks, and we watched the animated.
Yeah.
And that was available, and I got her a copy. She watched it, and we were both like, even watching just that, and finally having it visualize it, other than her just watch a reconstruction of it. She hated the reconstructions. Because the ones I had were ancient and hard to see anything, but it made me appreciate them. But yeah, I remember it had a good energy. It was we had a version of Treasure Island that was broadcast over here a lot. It was Disney's version of it.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminded me of that. As I watched that as a kid, it would be on like every couple of years. Every Sunday Disney had an hour and a half program at 7:00. Wonderful World of Disney, and they would show all their features. Their live action features and stuff like that. So, I mean, my brother's a big old movie buff, so I've seen every Errol Flynn movie, and there's a Burt Lancaster one called The Crimson Pirate or something, which I really like. But, I liked it. I thought it was good. Are you a fan of the historicals?
Yeah, I quite like them. It sort of varies. So, I tend to like the more fun ones, I think. So I'm always a bit controversial with my opinions. I really rate the Aztecs. I think the Aztecs is the gem in season 1, absolutely. And I love Marco Polo, but I also really love the Romans and the Mythmakers. I think the Mythmakers is almost the pinnacle of the historicals for me. It's just clever and witty and fun, and then turns on a dime to be tragic and violent and awful at the end. So
and see that I'm following along with Mark and Ian on All the Time in Space, so I listened to I really took a deep listen to Mythmakers when they were going to do it, because I hadn't really formulated opinion of it, and we did, it was very Carry On, and I only had and I've only seen clips of Carry On movies. I found a file online and had all of them, and I downloaded it. So I've watched a bunch of them now, so I kind of get it. But I'm the same way with the historical. Aztecs is one of my go-to rewatch of Hartnell. If I'm going to watch one Hartnell, a lot of the times I watch that, and I absolutely adore the Romans. I think the idea of making the historicals the comedies is a good idea.
Move.
Is a great move, because it shows that the show can do comedy, and don't be afraid to do it. And I think they got out of it. I mean, they would tell jokes and do funny scenes, but you could do Doctor Who can be a comedy, and there's no problem with it. I think it's great. But this with Smugglers, I think of the two historicals in the season, it's the better of the two.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they're very similar in lots of ways.
It's kind of the same plot.
Yeah.
We're going to get sold off into slavery, where, the stupid English guy and, the government agent and all that. But I wish, wasn't the Smugglers one that someone, I don't know. I was seeing Davies' little things. I try to stay out of reading some of that stuff, because he likes to stir the pot.
Yeah,
because he's a showman. He's got a little John Nathan Turner. Yeah, he understands that part of the show, and he wants the show to be bigger than it is. And I kind of appreciate that. If you're going to make more and you're going to get Disney to give you money, I'm all for it.
Then take it. Yeah,
take it. That's me and my wife said that's the one If we have to cut streaming services, that's the last one. Because they have the best model. Everything's on there. They just throw everything out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But this would be a good one to do. I think if you did this, all you have to do really is this in the Highlanders, and you have a box set.
Yeah, you've got a full season 4, which seems so unlikely.
It is. Well, we're going to talk about one. I mean, I will when we get to Underwater Menace, because that's a whole different conversation. But I really enjoy this one. It's. I wish there was more. I wish they had animated it. I think they were afraid of doing the historical animations because I don't get that because Abominable Snowman and Evil of the Daleks, which are set in the past, are really, stunning.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The 3D modeling they did in Abominable Snowman for the sets and Evil of the Daleks, the color version, it's just amazing.
It's beautifully done, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was that the Big Finish? Were they both Big Finish ones? No, I don't think so.
No, they were the other team, I think.
Yeah, the Big Finish ones had
the Anne-Marie Walsh team.
Yeah. Because Fury of the Deep is one of the Big Finish ones, and they have it. I call it the animation's a little Scooby-Doo.
Yes, I think the Abominable Snowman is the same team, isn't it? Because it's Gary Russell who was on that one.
Yeah. So the animation style's a little different, and I really liked it because they didn't go for an exact copy.
No.
They went, we're going to do what we can do, and it's animated, so let's make them look a little animated.
Exactly how they should be, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was fun. Well, let's move on to the second story of this season, which is probably one of the most important stories in Doctor Who history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The first regeneration. I know my first experience with this was I'd seen the clips from episode 4 like 1,000 times on different, on YouTube and stuff like that. But it wasn't until the DVD came out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I don't think I never did have the VHS. The VHS did.
Oh, yes.
The VHS did had it. It had a very short reconstruction.
That's right. Yes.
It was like and I loved it. I think it's one of my favorite Cyberman stories still.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I like.
It was.
Well, it's the first time they do the same plot. So,
that's true. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer. I like the scarier Cybermen stories when they're real, like Tomb. Moonbase is fun. I love Invasion. I do love Invasion.
Yeah, Invasion's brilliant.
Yeah. Will in Space, I mean, I like I wish they had animated those 2 episodes because I think they could. I would like to see those. So, what's your first experience with that?
This was actually the 10th Planet was the last classic story I had to see.
Wow.
So that was it's always a bit of a thing that was my last one, and that's a good last one to go out on. But I have to say, it's not a huge favourite of mine. I think it's very much really the first Base Under Siege story, which is fine, but I think they do it a lot better, and I think they refine it as they go along. There's a lot of people shouting about the rocket going up and General Cutler's son. I don't think it's sort of less than the sum of its parts for me. And I'm not a huge fan of the original Cybermen. I think the Cybermen get better as they go along. So I'm very controversial. But
I will say this. I think that this version, the 10th Planet version of Cybermen works better in 2000 and whenever.
Yeah.
Because they go a little more with the hands look like,
Yes.
It looks, it just seems, and that may be Rachel Talali's shooting. They're much more creepy, that it's surgical gauze, that we all can see it. So,
yes.
But yeah, I get that. I do make fun of who was the guy that did the voice?
Oh, that was Roy Skelton, wasn't it?
Roy Skelton.
Roy Skelton.
Oh, yeah.
Does the voice like this?
It reminded me of we had a comedian over here called Rip Taylor. He used to throw confetti. He was very flamboyant, very camp. And I always joked with Vic that that's who he sounded like. So, but it's a neat one. I think the best parts of it are maybe at the end when the regeneration scene is really well done.
The regeneration is absolutely magical, isn't it? And there are some great scenes. The Cybermen appearing out through the snow at the end of part 1 is really good.
It had good
and just seeing the hand and throwing the Parker off is a really great image as well. So there are bits that I like. It's just I think they do it better in the moon base.
Yeah. Oh, I do like that design. It's the 70s design. Jeff kind of scolded me because I don't really like the Tom Baker Beyond design as much.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I kind of really like the earlier designs, and I do like the 80s design a bit. I do have they're a little too emotional.
Yeah.
But it's
just a little.
I don't. The excellent thing. It's a great catchphrase, but it's really kind of weird and out of place. So next up is Power of the Daleks.
Yes.
I saw this first as a reconstruction. I think it was a loose canon.
Yes, me too.
And it was okay because there's a lot of footage and there are a lot of photographs.
Yes.
So they could do a good one. Mine was a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I could watch it animated that I really got the pacing.
Yes, it's a slow build. And
it is really a slow build.
The tension builds and builds and builds until you're waiting for it to explode, and then it does in part 6, where the Daleks are suddenly on the rampage and they're massacring everyone, and you're just waiting for them to do this. It's just building up and up. Oh, it's so brilliantly done.
Yeah, it's is this? One second, I forget the writer of this one.
David Whittaker?
Is it David Whittaker?
Yeah, with Dennis Spooner.
Yeah, that's why. I'm a big David Whittaker. David Whittaker, I think, is the unsung hero of early Who.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think he gets the credit. Terry Nation gets an awful lot of credit for not doing much heavy lifting. Because the best Dalek story, someone posted on Facebook or Twitter this week, who's the best writer of Daleks? And me and Jeff were both David Whittaker.
Yeah, because he understands what makes them tick.
Yeah, he does. It's a slow burn. That they're sneaky. His stories, they're always sneaky, lying to people and doing things, and they're not just screaming robots.
People. Yeah.
Yeah. And to watch Lesterson just degenerate, go mad from all that's going on. It's all these wonderful performances, and I think the animation brings it out. I mean, I will give them credit for they really bring it out.
Yes.
It's just it's such a good Dalek story. I think because I'm not a big fan of the 70s Dalek stories that much. I prefer the black and whites. Yeah. And the more I watch the black and white ones, the more I like them.
Yeah, the more you get. I think there's a lot to get out of them. There's a lot to unpick in most of them.
Because I was, for a long time, my brother used to scold me. He goes, "What's your favorite Dalek story?" And I go, "The Chase." And he went, "What? What is wrong with you? Genesis." I'm like, I love Genesis, but The Chase is a lot more fun. And
it's true.
And it's just so good. It's just so good. But I put this Power up there now too, because I really do. It's just anytime I see David Whittaker's name, and let's talk about the change. Yes, we have to talk. I don't want to barrel over that because we're talking about the monsters. I think it's a great transformation, and it's unique. I think the latest transformation we just saw is the closest to it, because a complete change in costume, and it's a little more magical in a way.
Yes.
But it's such that first, is it the first half of that episode? For them,
much,
they don't go outside for 10, 15 minutes.
No.
We're seeing what's happening on the base, so we know where they're at. But you get a slow build.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very nicely done that the viewer is obviously going to be disorientated by having the new Doctor Who, as he's sort of referred to in the behind-the-scenes bits and pieces. And they're very cleverly sort of pitch Polly as the person who thinks, yes, he is the Doctor, definitely, and Ben's the skeptical one who doesn't believe it. He hasn't seen what's happened. He doesn't know for sure that this is the Doctor, and so you've got that bit of tension for the viewer at home who's there sort of thinking, well, which way is it going to go? Is it really the Doctor? What's happened? We don't understand. Ben's asking the questions that the viewer at home is asking. The other kids are there with Polly thinking, no, we saw him change. It's got to be the Doctor, but why is he different? So I think just that, and you get that all the way through, and then you get that moment sort of about 3/4 of the way through where Ben sort of has come round and said,
and it's all of a sudden
Polly,
he just calls him the Doctor.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I think what's great about this, because the three of them are so good together, and they're all given something to do, because sometimes in later Classic Who, the companions aren't really given a lot to do.
No. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not. And I think this one really cements Polly, because what I like about 60s Who is the female companions, Barbara, specifically Barbara, Vicky, and Polly are the stronger character.
Yes.
Ian's strong, but she's in charge.
Barbara has something extra, and Polly is the same.
And so I think
She's
Victoria
smart.
is with how she can corral the Doctor. I don't want to say control him,
Yes.
but keeps him. And the magic between Maureen O'Brien and William Hartnell is wonderful.
It's just gorgeous, isn't
It
it?
is.
Yeah.
It's as someone who wanted to be an actor and did theater for years, it's that is two actors that are comfortable with each other, and so when they do scenes together, they're very honest.
Yes.
It's a very natural. And I think Hartnell acts better with them, and I think he's fine with Ben and Polly in the War Machines, and I'm a big fan of the War Machines.
Mm-hmm.
I have a soft spot for that one, but she is so good in this. She problem solves, and I like that. She's solving some of the problems, or at least she's confirming for the Doctor, and he's like, yes, that's exactly what's going on.
And I like the way they both have a holiday in this story, so they both have a week off, so they get a week each of. So Michael Craze and Annika Wills get a week where they're just the single one paired with Patrick Troughton, which is really good. And you don't notice.
See, that's
that
good, because I've never
written
noticed
up.
it. Me and Vic have a term for it. We call it a week in Mallorca.
Yes.
Because they get knocked out on vacation and they come back with a tan.
So you get a week where Polly's captured by the rebels, and a week where something happens to Ben as well. But it's so brilliantly written that you don't notice that they're not there. It's really, really good.
Is this Christopher Barry?
It is Christopher Barry, yes,
Yeah,
who is.
Yeah, he's a solid. I've watched a few of his recently just by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how good a director he is.
Yeah, he's not just a safe pair of hands. He's a very good, very skilled director. And this is his last one for quite a while. So he does this one. He doesn't come back till the Demons.
Oh my God! I didn't realize it was that long a gap. I know
Yeah,
he does a couple Bakers. Does he do a couple?
Yeah. Well, he does Tom's first one. So he does Robot.
Okay.
So he's obviously he brings in two different Doctors, which is a real big thing. So
yeah.
And then he does Morbius and Creature from the Pit.
Oh my goodness! I love Morbius. I think that's probably my favorite Tom Baker. It's one I can watch. I can watch it 1,000 times and never get bored. And one, it's Philip Maddock.
Yes.
Oh God, man! I wish he had been a bigger star, because every time I see him in something, it's like you're so much better than everybody else in this movie.
It's true.
Sometimes he's doing a Doctor Who, and I went, "Yo, dude, you know this is Power of Krull. You don't have to do that much acting."
But he always does.
Oh no! Yeah, it's great. But this one is just such a good one, and I forget it's a 6-parter. It doesn't feel like I'm sitting there for 6 episodes, and see, I've only seen this one episodically, because all of other anything that was complete of Classic Who, I didn't see until VHS. I didn't see them episodically. I only saw them as movies. These really dodgy edits, where like, that same scene to you didn't cut one of the two versions of it. Like when the rare times that they would shoot a scene at the end of one episode and then shoot it differently for the next episode. There are a couple.
Both of them.
There's one in War Games where midway through War Games you see the same 2.5-minute sequence. It's like they were just cutting out the credits.
Okay.
So how do you because this is the first regeneration. Where would you kind of rank it with other classic regenerations? Because modern regenerations are very different.
I think it's one of the most magical. I mean, the one for me is always going to be Logopolis and Castrovalva, Tom to Davison, because that was my first one.
That was my first. That was the first one I saw in real time.
Yeah, and I think there's just something about that will always be very special and magical, and the music and the visuals are brilliant. But I think this one is probably my second favourite because it's strange and weird, and I know we didn't just talk about this when we were doing the 10th Planet, but those scenes where all the levers on the TARDIS console are going mad, and the noise and the sound of it, and Hartnell at the controls, and the flickering lights on his face. It's just beautiful. It's really and it's
well
weird.
Shot. Yeah, I would put this up with John. I do like John into Tom just for the Tom stuff when he's with Harry.
Yeah.
But I do like Jeff. He's converted me to some seasons that I didn't really think I'd like, and 18 was one of them.
It's my favorite, so
it is way up there for me. When the Blu-ray came out, I said I'm going to sit down here and give it a deep view, and it was mid-COVID. I think I got it while I had COVID, so I had a lot of time to kill. I was stuck in the guest room of the apartment. But it is a nice regeneration. It is really Tom's on top form, but this one is.
Yes.
I think a lot of the times. Sometimes they don't put enough time in the change to show you the change in the person. They try it in Twin Dilemma, but there's a lot of problems I have with Twin Dilemma with how the Doctor's acting.
Yes.
And that's because I think you could have had a testy Doctor, but if you'd given them a better story.
Yeah, then it
because
that
script is problematic with the way Perry's treated.
Yeah,
I think they crossed the line to how cranky he is. I can't imagine that freaking kid. How old were you when you saw that?
I was. Hang on, where were we? 84. So I was 8.
Yeah, see, I think that would have freaked me out at 8.
Yes, it did.
Okay. See, because I wasn't
sure if I liked him, and it's very odd as a kid to have a doctor that you don't like, because they're meant to be likable.
Yeah, and this one, but this one is so unique. I think this one stands out, and the bridge between the two of them is probably so, because it is the first time they do it, and I think Christopher Berry made a good choice. I don't know if the controls moving along is in the script. Probably knowing Whitaker probably put it in. I don't know if that was a set direction given by the director or that was the writer.
Yeah,
or was
so
that...
it would have been Derek Martinus.
Derek Martinus. Well, but it's good. I want to ask you something. This is maybe you know better than I do. I watched the Blu-ray of it of Power, and they did it as a pre-title sequence. Was it a pre-title sequence? Or is that just something?
Not at the time. No, that's just something I think for the animated presentation. So I guess they had to cover the regeneration happening and
things that's
like
cool.
That.
And I think that's the same
in BritBox UK.
Same with Macroterror, which I put on when I got home from work. Yeah. See, I love that Macroterror. When we get to it, it has definitely gone from nowhere in my liking to very high up in my liking of Doctor Who. So. That's Power. Any final thoughts on Power?
Well, I suppose the one thing we haven't actually talked about is Patrick Troughton.
Oh, duh. Okay.
Because what they do, and the genius thing they do, is that they don't make him be William Hartnell but younger. They just make him be his own person, and that's what's brilliant, and that's what I think gives the series its longevity suddenly.
Yeah, he
that
does.
You can then do this again.
Me and Vic, and I know a lot of people have said this, is you don't have you don't have 60 years of Who without Troughton.
Exactly. If he hadn't made this a success,
and I've seen Colin Baker say it. Yeah, and that his character is so one. Don't want to diss on the other actors who played the part, but Patrick Troughton is probably one of the better actors that ever played the part.
Oh, for sure.
You know, when I see him in other things, I want to find a version of Box. I'm going to try to get a copy of Box of Delights, because I've never seen it. It's not shown over here.
Oh, right, okay.
But I did listen to the Big Finish one with Derek Jacobi, because it's Sir Derek, and he's wonderful. And it makes me want to see what an 80s version of that looks. I understand it's wonderful. And I know him from, and Vic mentions this, that he was Olivier's understudy. When he would shoot movies, Troughton would block because the monitor hadn't been invented. They didn't have a monitor. And I throw this trivia question out every time I talk about this. But Jerry Lewis invented the monitor system because he had to direct himself. So he said, I need another camera that I can see immediately so I can see if I hit my mark. But so Olivier would have him. And he's in all these great movies, and he's so good.
Yeah.
And he's just and he makes this character. And he's not fully formed when it starts, but you know where he's going. He's making great choices.
Yes, and I think you can sort of see through the season him picking things up, trying them, putting them down when they don't work, sort of figuring out who this new Doctor Who is. And but what I love about his Doctor is that he's got this elusive quality that you don't quite know whether he knows what he's doing. Whereas Hartnell's always very resolute, comes in, you know exactly where you are with him. And so the audience must have been really baffled by this new guy who's there, because he's not in command. He looks scared. He looks like he doesn't know what's going on around him. And you've got the classic thing at the end of this story where Polly says, but you did this, didn't you, Doctor? And he says, did I? Was that what I did? Are you sure? And so you're not quite sure whether he knows how he's done what he's done, and that's brilliant.
I think it's something his Doctor disarms situations. He calms situations down, and he manipulates people he's talking to. He's very manipulative in a subtle way.
Yes.
And one example I'm thinking of is in the next season with the logician guy. He makes people tell him things.
Yes, without them realizing
it. And then he's going, good. And you can see him thinking, okay, and you know he's planning his next step.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see it. And they're great moments. One is later on, another later in it's Abominable Snowman. Oh, Jamie's had an idea. Let's go. He knows when to tell.
Yes.
He also knows when to put his companions. And I think I think the companion role changes with later producers and becomes less, I don't want to say less important, but less fully rounded later on. But this is in the year where these characters are very important because the Doctor's going to go on vacation. The actor's so they're going to have to run the show for an episode sometimes. And the way he interacts with all the other actors as the Doctor with their characters it seems very whimsical and light, like he's scatterbrained. But the more I watch him, the more I know that I think Troughton is going, no, the Doctor knows exactly what's going on. Yeah. This is all for show. Yeah. He's having a good time. He's being cautious. And it's wonderful. And it does change because the Doctor that's in the first episode of this and the Doctor that at End of Evil of the Daleks is a very different Doctor. And he's also a little more sentimental.
Yes.
At times, I think he's a little softer. He has moments where he'll have a personal conversation with somebody, and there's something about acting. You're supposed to be a good listener. The great actors are great listeners.
Yes.
Because they're listening to the other actor. And you can see him listening. And that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing in actor. You see Patrick Troughton actively listening in character.
Yes.
And you can see him. It's everybody's thing is, I like the animation, but I'd really like to see the original because I'd like to see his face.
Yeah, because you never quite know what Troughton is actually doing.
Yes.
And I think as we've had episodes rediscovered, you suddenly go from a static photo of a telesnap to seeing him working, and he's always doing something interesting that you don't quite guess.
Yeah, it's like when Enemy of the World and Web of Fear were found.
Yes.
Or Tomb of the Cybermen. I remember that because it was such a huge deal.
Absolutely was.
Yeah, but even so, those two, because our take on him as an actor when Enemy of the World and Web of Fear came out totally flipped. Because, the perceived fan wisdom was Enemy of the World is not very good, and Web of Fear is great. And I still think I like Web of Fear a great deal, but Enemy of the World, Enemy of the World's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the best directed, best acted in a lot of ways, because you see his range. It's like he gets to play two characters. And
you get to see what Troughton could do.
Yeah, and that version of the Doctor, there's some moments where he's kind of, why am I helping you? He doubts it, and I just love it. And in this one, you see him, he's afraid of the Daleks. You see real fear.
Which Hartnell never was.
No, Hartnell's Doctor would never show fear. No. He would have fear for others. The Daleks, they're going to get Susan, they're going to get Ian. They'd be afraid for his companion, but he was never personally afraid of them. So I liked the fear of it here. And now in modern Doctor Who, it's like, oh my God, the Daleks are the worst. And I think sometimes it's a little much.
Yes.
But I think here you really think he's afraid at times. And I like that this Doctor will show some emotions.
Yeah, because you've got that great cliffhanger where the Dalek is chanting, "I am your servant," and the Doctor is shouting, and as the Doctor shouts, the Dalek gets louder, and you've got sort of the Doctor's face in the Dalek eye stick, and all of that. It's just magnificent. So good.
I would love for this one to be found. I would, I think, I don't know if I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I grew up outside of Washington D.C., so the people in the government can't keep a secret. So I don't believe in governmental conspiracy theories. My friends, our parents all work for the federal government. So I was like, no, I know what they get paid. They'd sell their mother for an extra $10,000. Yeah. But it's a wonderful story. It's one I can watch all the time. I bought both versions when I bought a British, because we didn't get the special edition in this country.
Right, okay.
No, they didn't re-release it. So I have a region-free player, so I could get the steel books. And I got that, and the animation's a little cleaned up. It's a little tidier.
I think they smartened up part one particularly.
Yeah, it looked a little more polished. Except there's no color version.
No.
And I do like the color versions. I know. Well, if I do a rewatch, I will rewatch it in black and white. I will not rewatch it in color. But I do like, if I'm going to watch it all by itself, I'm going to watch it.
I'm the same.
They're so, because one, especially when they started to tell the creators, do not worry about capturing exact stage directions.
No.
No, I mean, we've got some guides for you. You need to know it because they're talking to one another. But if you want to do establishing shots, pull the camera out. And I love it. So the next one is, I, as a Scot, should love this one. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's...
It's all right, yeah.
Do you think this is why? I mean, because I don't know why they stopped doing the historicals. What the logic was, I don't think I've ever really.
Well,
That's never stuck in my.
they always said that the audience were tired of them and the ratings would go down when there was a historical story, which isn't necessarily borne out. I think the production team were just tired of telling those stories.
They're harder to do.
Foisted upon them. Yeah, exactly. And thinking of a time that you can go to and tell an exciting story in, they've done nearly 4 years of these style adventures, almost every other adventure, and they've done a lot, and I think they're just fatigued and they want to tell monster stories. They want to tell bigger, exciting sci-fi stories where there's a bit more freedom.
Yeah, what I like about this one is that it doesn't take place, and I don't think the Smugglers 100% does, but it doesn't take place in an historical event. It takes place after an historical.
Yes,
and I like that. And I thought that would have been a good change.
After the Battle of Culloden, rather than right in the middle of it.
And it's just you're having an adventure in a time period.
Yes.
And I think that is the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You also get to see Troughton do comedy. They immediately let him do
lots of dressing up.
Yes, which he thought was going to be his shtick, and it doesn't stick. Because it's in this story and the next story, and then it stops, doesn't it? It stops after. Yeah. I think we get Jamie. I think Jamie's wonderful in it. I think Polly's really good in this one.
Yeah, what I love about Polly is the way that when she goes into the past, she's just decided that everyone in the past is really stupid. Because she's from 1966, so she's obviously the pinnacle of civilization.
Yeah.
And so anyone in the past is a silly peasant, and they don't know what they're talking about. And then it sort of comes out that she sort of is wrong, and so she's sort of shown that they could be resourceful and as clever as her, and better because they are a product of their time and they're in their own time. So, but I do love Polly sort of getting the better of General Finch.
Oh yeah, she's great with that, and
Algie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's so mean. She's so mean to him. It's great. But she also goes with that other woman. I like that the two women have Kirsty. They have their own adventure, separate from the men, and the men get in more trouble.
Yeah, because Ben has a terrible time.
Oh, he almost gets sent to the Caribbean to be an indentured servant.
Exactly. Yeah, he gets almost drowned.
Oh yeah, he does. He's the one that falls off the boat.
Yeah, he nearly gets hanged. There's all of these things going on all through this. So
yeah, I don't think it's the greatest one. It's Hugh David directed it, which I don't know. Is this his only Who direction?
No, he did Fury from the Deep as well. So we have very little idea of what his direction was like because we haven't got a single existing episode.
Wow.
That he completed. So
I mean, it looks like it's okay. They did a lot of outside exterior stuff and a lot of. See, what gets me is, I mean, y'all's television in this country is known for its period. We buy a shitload of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We buy tons and tons of it. And it's also you don't have to build a set. You can just pull the flats and reassemble something else and repaint it.
Yeah, and the BBC had it all ready to go because they did all these adventure stories set around this time and things like that, so they know what they're doing with this kind of story.
Yeah, I think it's a solidly written story and it works. And I mean, Jamie's written so well and Fraser Hine portrays him so well that they get a new companion that was not planned. Yeah, I mean, when did they decide? Like in episode 2 or 3?
Yeah,
like late.
It was last minute, and then they had to go back and refilm the ending, and all sorts. So it was a sort of in production decision.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a good one. I mean he's there for the rest of the era. He is. Yeah. He's probably the most iconic male companion.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean I'm a big Harry fan and.
But yeah, I think just the sheer quantity of stories he did, and the fact he always had sort of the recognisable kilt.
Yeah.
Never really changed that. That's a good thing.
Oh, and I'll put it this way: he's such an important character that another author used his name for a character in a big TV series. I love that. I love that they he named, and he was in it. I've not watched Outlet.
Wasn't he? Yes.
He played a prison warden or something like that. But it's there's not a lot to talk about it. I mean, again, it's one that nothing exists.
No.
There's like 2 or 3 scenes, clips.
Yeah.
Him running with a saber, and that's about it. No, that's not even from that. That's from the War Games. I'm thinking it.
So there's not a great deal. There's a few of the Australian censor clips. So
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. I wish that's maybe we'll get lucky and they'll do more animation because they really don't have. That'd be a good one to do. You could Braveheart it a little bit. Go over the top. All right. So the next one is. Oh my God, I don't know what to say about this. The Underwater Menace. It is. I've heard a lot of love for it recently, and I don't get it. I watched it. No, I watched it last night in preparation. I picked one story. Oh, that's a good one to pick. I wasn't. Yeah. So what was your take?
I think it's great fun. It's absolutely mad. They probably shouldn't have even attempted it, but I love Doctor Who where they attempt to do the impossible.
Yeah, I do. I get that.
And it's just, I don't know whether it's written as a comedy and a sort of spoof, or whether the cast have decided it's a comedy and a spoof, or what. But I don't know what was going on in anyone's minds while they were making it at all.
Who was the actor that plays Zaroff?
That's Hold
on a second.
Oh, this is terrible. I should know this.
Joseph First.
Joseph First.
Every time I watch it, I want to diss him for being over the top, but I love a bit of camp. And he is it's glorious to see an actor who is able to chew the scenery and you buy it. I just watched Time Lash like 3-4 days ago. Paul Darrow.
And you've got, the ultimate actor who could chew the scenery.
Yeah. And I think it's, and I was talking with Jason yesterday, I directed a play one time called The Kiss. It was written by this comedy troupe called the Five Lesbian Brothers. And the women who in that troupe, they normally did comedies, but they did about the first lesbian president, president comes out, and it was really a bad script. And I was directing it, and I just told my actors, I need you to talk faster, like you're on the West Wing or in some Aaron Sorkin thing, and assume that this is a comedy. And they would, do you think it's a comedy? I'm not going to say that. I just want you to assume what you are doing is a comedy. Why?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to tell the actors it's a turd of a script.
Because,
So they got a little bit big. And the artistic director goes, I didn't see this as a comedy, did you? And I said, no, but I made it a comedy. And
exactly. And maybe that is the only way to play this melodramatic script. But I think what's interesting is that Joseph First is so over the top that Troughton has this moment of realization where he knows he's not going to be able to top what he's doing. So he brings his Doctor's performance way down
to the bottom,
and suddenly I think we see the real genesis of the second Doctor that we're going to have for the rest of his time here.
That moralistic take that he has.
Yeah.
I think it's true because it is a very different performance. When Zaroff's not on the screen with him, he'll have more fun. But whenever he's dealing with that guy, because I think what I always get from that is that the Doctor realizes from the moment he talks to him the first time that this man is dangerous.
Yes,
he's a psychopath.
Mad. Yeah,
he's proper mad. It's not funny. He's not some megalomaniac. Whatever. He will kill us all to prove a point. I will say in this one I do like the guest cast a bit. Some of the people that they team up with. You know, Ben and and Jamie and the other sailors are fun. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. I wish they had done an animated to fill the two gaps.
Yeah, I think
because I haven't watched the DVD in a while. Is it a full reconstruction of each episode?
Yeah, it's full telesnaps, but it's not. It's a very basic reconstruction. It's not.
It's not like the ones they put in there's a third disc in the new ones. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched it in a while. I think the last time I watched it is when me and Vic had to do it. When we covered it, because it was our third Troughton one. And it was less painful for me. I think Vic doesn't get. I mean, I enjoy parts of it, but it is. I get why people don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fish people. I like the fish people.
Yeah, I think it's worse things in Doctor Who.
And it's 1966. What, 67? 66.
Yeah,
still?
early 67, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. See, I'm a huge fan of the Web Planet.
Yeah,
because it's them going, screw it, we're going to do it.
And, we can do whatever we like.
It's no one can see. They're looking at 8-inch television screens. It's a blip. But for this season, it is definitely a kind of like a little. It's not as good as some of the ones around it, but it's not. Did Jeffrey Orm ever direct another Doctor Who? Oh no, he's the writer. Julia Smith. This is another
one. Julia Smith. Yeah. So this is her second one because she did The Smugglers as well. But I don't think the cast were so keen on her, sort of on this one.
Oh.
I think there were.
Did she ever do another one?
I'm not sure her and. No, she didn't come back after this one. I'm not sure her and Troughton got on terribly well. So.
She's the first woman director on Doctor Who, right?
Second after Paddy Russell.
Oh, that's right, Paddy Russell. Okay. So next up is the Moon Base.
Yeah.
You like this? Is this one of your favorites?
I do like this one. I do, yeah.
I do enjoy it. I like the French guy with his little scarf.
Yes.
I think me and Vic were going, how many racially or nationalistically insensitive characters can we create in a single episode that you would never do today? And I said like this to her, oh, you would still do this French character.
That's exactly what you would do.
It's exactly. I know. You may not put the little kerchief on him, but you're gonna do. It's gonna be a little mean. But I enjoyed it. I think it's like a Buck. I see it very much like a Buck Rogers. And very
it feels
sci-fi.
very 1950s sci-fi almost. Yeah,
I like that.
It's got that. And this is just still a few years before the moon landing, so the moon was the big thing. Everyone was going to the moon, so to do a Doctor Who story on the moon makes perfect sense. It's right in the zeitgeist.
Oh, it's perfect. I'm actually old enough to. I remember the moon landing.
Oh wow! Okay,
it's one of my earliest memories. I was almost 5 years old. It was like 4 and a half. My dad said he woke us up and said, "You need to see this." And then I went and helped my brother. We all went with my older brother. He had a paper route, and we delivered the Washington Post. And my dad went with him because it was a big ass
momentous thing. Yeah.
Oh, this big giant. No, but the paper was like twice its normal size, and so he loaded us all in the Ford station wagon. We threw papers, and I got to throw them, and then so I would throw it, and then someone would have to go to where it landed, and then throw it to the porch because I could.
You couldn't throw that far.
I couldn't throw it that far. But no, and I'm a big. When I first saw this, I guess it would have been on the DVD. Did this get a VHS release?
It was
in the law.
Cybermen, the early years.
The early years. So they did have the audio. So I kind of did watch it. That was neat. I like that. I kept my early years. I do when I get Blu-rays and upgrades. I do either gift them or eBay them.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is the greatest Doctor Who ever written. I don't think it's the greatest Cyberman story. But this is what they copy later on, because this
is the Cybermen in the shadows manipulating everything, and they're already in the base.
Yes, I like
and
it.
It's
They're
already
creepy.
started.
Yeah, I like that. I do like the veins. It's scary. And I love the set. I will say this. It is a glorious set. It is really one of the better sets.
And this is where they work out that if they put their money in one big central set, then you've got the visual spectacle and you can do it justice
pull the camera back.
Lots of little ones. Yeah,
they keep the cameras way back, and I love it. You see 7, 8, 9 people in a shot.
Yeah.
You've got that big camera, big telescope or ray gun, whatever it is.
Yeah. And the gravitron.
The gravitron. I mean, the shower cap's a little weird.
Yeah.
But I don't. But you don't care.
It is a little weird.
But the space, there are times where Doctor Who did stuff. Oh, we're going to do future clothing, and they do dumb things. And I'm not just saying it's Doctor Who. I'm a big Star Trek: The Next Generation fan. But their future clothing,
stupid things.
It's your grandma's sofa. They've cut up it's like they're wearing furniture upholstery on their bodies, and that's kind of like nowadays. Ronald D. Moore, who was a big Star Trek producer, and then did Battlestar, said they're wearing coat and ties. We're not doing future space clothes. We're doing just alter it a little bit so it doesn't look like our clothes. And if you don't want to do that, I don't care. Just they're going to be in shirts and ties. They're going to be in flight suits. But this is everybody's just wearing regular clothes.
Yeah, they're just
got a uniform T-shirt. And it looks worked in. It looks realistic. I could believe that's what a future moon base would look like.
Exactly.
The Cybermen are scary. Polly's great in it.
Polly's really kick-ass at this one. She's really coming up with the Polly cocktail and all of that. She's really great.
And Ben becomes the guy that goes. You send the Doctor and Polly, who will send him off with one of the guest casts to just cause mayhem, so they can do something else.
Yes.
And I think it's great, and every time I watch it, it's one that I always enjoy. It's kind of like it's a comfort Who. It's like it's not my favorite. It's not going to blow me away.
It's just it's good.
It's well constructed.
The scenes of the Cybermen marching on the moon are really great.
That's a great effect for 67.
Really good, yeah.
It holds up. It really holds up. I think Troughton is so good with the Cybermen.
Yes,
they're his baddies. They're his baddie.
Yeah, Hartnell's the Daleks. Troughton is the Cybermen. And again, it's that wonderful visual thing of the Cybermen being so big and Troughton being small.
And him being more powerful than them.
Yes.
Because when he stands nose to chest on them, he's not afraid of them.
No.
Or he may be afraid of them. But he doesn't show it to them. No, it's great.
And here we get sort of one of the defining Troughton speeches, don't we? With there are some corners of the universe that have bred the most terrible things.
Yes. I'd say he's really good in this one. He's getting better and better as the stories progress, as he's shaping them. And I think when this season's over and you go into Tomb, you've got a very different Doctor.
On it, yes.
Yeah. But what's your favorite part of this one? Since this is one that's like is this your favorite classic Cyberman story, or?
No. Earthshock is my favorite one.
I
think of them all. I think because that was my first one, and the Cybermen instantly became my favorite monsters.
That's the way I was. I wasn't a Dalek fan, but
I was very much a Cyberman fan.
That's the one I had seen Revenge, and I didn't like. I didn't like. Oh, okay. But I saw Revenge. Yeah, I saw Revenge a lot because it was in a loop where I grew up.
But this was one where I loved the book. I thought the book, because the book was one of the early books, so this one was available. So this was one that I knew well. So this
did
is one.
Did you have all the books as a kid, or did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was my big Doctor Who thing, was collecting the Target books. That was my thing, and read them all a number of times.
I got you. I was a comic collector, so there are certain comic runs that I have read from issue 1 to 300 a dozen times. Hell, I do a podcast where I'm actually doing a reread of Legion of Superheroes from 1952 until I probably die of old age.
But no, I'm very much like Jason Miller. The Target books were my Doctor Who thing.
Well, I get that. Mine was the magazine and the magazine, and then the Eighth Doctor.
Oh, I love the magazine as well. So
I think I still get the magazine.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm behind reading it, but and that's how because I digested all this stuff from the magazine, and Pertwee's the last Doctor I ever saw.
Okay.
First, because I don't know. When I first saw it, my brother said, "Watch the show. It's really old. I've heard of it. Blah blah blah." And he had seen a Pertwee on Channel 8 in DC. They'd shown a few. They had test driven it, but they didn't buy any more. But we could see Baltimore. We had Baltimore television and DC television when I was a kid. And he said, "Watch this." And I watched Ark in Space, first episode. And it was Time Life was putting it out.
Oh, so you got the Howard Da Silva.
The Howard Da Silva, and I know him as Ben Franklin because I used to watch 1776 every 4th of July because it was the first play I was in third grade.
Okay.
I played Colonel McKeon, the Scottish congressman from Delaware. But and I know him from if you've ever seen, I don't know how you are on old American movies, but there's a Western called The Kentuckian with Gary Cooper, and Howard Da Silva is maybe 30 years old. And he's the villain, and he's fabulous villain.
Oh, wow, okay.
Really good actor. But, yeah, we had that, but we only had the first 4 years. And
then you have it on the loop.
Yeah, and then the PBS station in D.C. bought everything, but they bought the omnibus. And all they had was Tom through 2 seasons of Peter.
Okay.
And then the next time through, they had whatever Colin there was. And then and then after I think the second time through that, they bought first, second, third. So I didn't see Sylvester McCoy until I moved away and he had all of those on VHS. And he gave me his set, and I owned 2 VHSs, and I made copies so I could mail him back his. But so the last Doctor I ever really saw was Pertwee. So for new, but it was just kind of that weird way I knew these stories from the magazine, and I was reconstructing the stories in my head from synopsises and telesnaps.
The photos were great, weren't they? The publicity photos that they took at this point were really atmospheric.
And there are telesnaps of this one, aren't there? Is this a complete set? Yeah, I think we got a couple magazines that had all the telesnaps.
That's right, yes.
So and so I always was big on this one because it looked so good.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the better sets, and I think it got like the Ice Warriors, the Future Clothes, which are weird. Where this one, it's just a smart design.
It feels down to earth, so to speak.
Yes, it's just more natural. It makes more sense. It's great. So
and
now
all the performances are good as well.
There's one person I want to. The leader, Hobson. He's very good.
Yeah, Patrick Barr. Yeah, he's great.
Really good.
And he's one of the few base commanders that's actually competent.
Yeah, he's not an idiot.
No.
No, he's not. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And Innes Lloyd's, I have problems with him as a producer a little bit sometimes, more so how he, he's not John Wiles. Yeah. We were bad-mouthing John Wiles last night, so. But deservingly.
No, he's a step up from John Wiles, but there's still
some
treat his regulars great.
No, he's a boss. He's just a boss. I think sometimes Doctor Who had bosses and had creative people. I think Verity Lambert was nurturing of creators.
Yep.
She had a great script editor.
Yes.
I think Wiles didn't know what he was doing. I don't think you get a good pairing, a true great pairing, until you get to Letts and Dix. So.
No. But I think Innes Lloyd and Jerry Davis are not bad.
No, they're good. They're good. But one's doing one job and the other's doing another job.
Doing the other, and they're not in it together.
It's not a partnership, and I think it's. No. I think Jerry Davis fixes a lot of things. I think I think if you're seeing a polish on anything, it's coming from Jerry Davis. It's not coming from Innes Lloyd. No. So next up is Makra Terra. This used to be renowned as one of the worst Doctor Who's ever.
And it is so not.
It is not.
It really is not.
I do. It is my favorite animated one. It is absolutely.
Yes, me too.
It is so gorgeous. And
yes.
I know the animated is not what it originally looked like. I don't really care. I get the part. It makes sense.
Swept along with it.
It does. It's a good script. It falls into that Paradise Towers kind of category. I don't need. What I like about British science fiction is different than American science fiction is. American science fiction, we have technobabble. We have to be told how things work. I don't care how the warp drive works. It goes fast. No. Don't care. But you will set a story, and I read British comics like 2000 AD.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. This is a planet where there are people doing exercise. And we don't have these resorts that you guys have.
But we did. I had holidays in them when I was young.
Okay, were they as creepy and weird as they seem?
Yes. Very much so. It's that whole thing of forced fun, where you are going here because you are going to have fun and you're going to relax for 2 weeks or your week that you've got, and you're going to join in, be silly, and then you're going to go back to work and everything and forget all about that. And then you do it again the next year, and it's the one time that you just stop and just get sort of enjoyment out of it. I mean, it's of such a 1967 adventure. I don't think it would work in any other year.
Could you do it in? Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, culturally, that's died. So their generations have never experienced it.
No, exactly, not like that.
I think the only
we still
time
have them, but they're not like they were at that time. We still have holiday camps where people go and stay. But there's not so much of the group activities and things like that there would have been in the 50s and 60s when they were at their peak.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it all, now that I could see it moving on its feet.
Yes.
I watched it the first time and I was like, my wife was, I was in the guest room watching it, and she goes, well, and the way I remember it is I told her I'm watching one that's supposedly the worst ones ever, and I came out and she goes, well, how was it? And I was like, it was wonderful. I loved it. It was cheerful. It was scary. It looked great. And I watched all the reconstructions, and that's a really hard reconstruction. How they got it, how they made one. But it's just gorgeous, and I get what they were going for.
Yes.
That conformity, this is the late 60s. You guys, I don't know when Summer of Love, hippie, counterculture.
That's that summer, isn't it? Summer of 67. And then you've got, in the UK, you've got The Prisoner coming out at the end of the year as well, which is very similar. So
that's huge over here, too. It was on ABC at 11 o'clock at night after the talk shows. But when the Avengers, because it was weird, it wasn't. The network bought it, but they had to. They couldn't show it during regular prime time. They had to show it late at night. But this was one that, before you saw this version of it, what was your take of it? Because you had the book and you had the audio.
Yeah, it was one that, again, just sort of slipped by. I knew it. I'd heard the audio, and that was fine. But I only heard the original audio with the Colin Bacon narration, which didn't really tell you a lot of what was going on. And a lot of this story is soundscapes where there's visual things happening, but there's not dialogue that's explaining what's going on necessarily. So you need that narration to tell you what's going on. And they later did a version with Annika Wills doing a much better one.
And doing it as Polly. That's what I like when they later on, they did it as the character. Mm-hmm. Like the character's remembering it almost. They don't write it that way. They write it as simple narration, but they all kind of, you feel like Jamie's telling you the story. Or Ian's
exactly.
Or Peter, Stephen's telling you the story.
So again, it was one that I thought, it's really interesting, but I don't necessarily know what's actually happening in this one.
Do you really need to know what's happening? But it is.
No, but...
But they're scary. I think they're scary in the cartoon. I don't know how bad the paper mache would have... I don't know. I think I would have fell in love.
There was a lot of her throwing herself into the claws of the macra because they couldn't do a great deal because they were big and unwieldy. But...
Oh yeah, I don't. Would I have? Do you think you would have fallen in love with it if they had found it?
I think so. I
You
think
do? Okay.
that there's not enough of it to really enjoy. The performances are really, really strong.
They
Peter
are.
Jeffrey is brilliant as the pilot, and yeah, and I think there's a lot of. I think there would be a lot of visual interest to keep you going. So all the dancing and sort of looking at the colony and then seeing the contrast with the mines would have been a good thing.
Yeah, I do too. I think you're right. I don't know if I would love it as much because I do think
No.
I think the animators
They just went for it with this
There's
one.
a scene where you're outside and the camera goes into the window.
Yes.
It's beautiful. You have that beautiful 3D rendering of the base, so you have an idea of that they're sealed, hermetically sealed in this building.
Yeah, and there is no way we'd have seen the Macra manipulating controls in the control room, or 5 of them in the control room all at once, and things like that, But I just think good on them for not sticking slavishly to what was done in 1967 and letting their imaginations run loose within reason.
Yeah, because they didn't do anything that you wouldn't do if you were shooting that script today.
No. Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Exactly.
I like that. They're true to the script. They were just using the technology they had in front of them, and find it it's whimsical, it's fun, it's like I really love it. I really love it. All right, let's move on to another animated one, which viewing it as an animated made me rethink it a little bit. Not as much, but a little bit. The Faceless Ones. This is almost like to me, I'll start. It's almost a prototype of what we're going to see with later in Who, where you land and you get involved in something happening in present day. Does it need to be 6 episodes? I don't know.
Maybe not.
No, but it's got a really good cast.
Yeah, and you get the time to know the characters.
Yes, you do.
So I think sort of one of my favourite characters in it is Inspector Crossland. Played by the mighty Bernard Kay.
Yes. I was going to say he's incredible in it.
Yeah, so you get that time to know him. So when he changes into the chameleon version, you're really wrong-footed by that, and he's really different. So I think having that bit of breathing space sort of works well for that.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Costner? All right, they're probably getting a little hungry, but they can wait a little bit. They're not bugging me, so I may have to pause real quick to throw food in a bowl and then look at me. So I think he's great. I think the commissioner is great because he goes from being a jerk, an officious little jerk, to being a partner with the Doctor.
Yes, that they all come to trust the Doctor after it all, which I always like when there's a bit of mistrust. Again, that feels very later on Doctor Who, where the Doctor comes into a situation, is mistrusted by the officials, and then wins them over by being brilliant.
Yeah, it's great, and it's a very complicated story. I think. And I think the animation improves the chameleons as a monster. The redesign's a little better.
Yeah, and the fact that they've got sort of shifting patterns on their faces and they're not quite there is really good.
Really good. And Pauline Collins,
she's just fabulous.
Yeah, she'd have been a great companion. But she would, would she have gone to be Shirley Valentine or?
Yeah, exactly. It's always that what if.
That what if she's great. And it was, me and Vic were both huge fan. We were, it's Pauline Collins, because we watched all those haughty movies in the 80s. And when she came back as Victoria. What did you... I watched this when I got the DVD, the Blu-rays. I watched it black and white with the original episodes.
Yeah.
Then I watched it in color, and I was like, okay, I feel better now. And then I watched it in all black and white. What's your overall take on this one?
I like it. It's not a huge favourite, but it's one that every time I come back to it, I think, yeah, that's good. again, it's another decent one, I think. I love the setting, and sort of in the existing episodes where you've got the footage at Gatwick Airport, which was sort of new and modern, and sort of first sort of so you've got sort of the airport footage, I think, is really different for Doctor Who at this period.
There's a lot of outside. There's a lot of location shots in this.
And I think this is one of the things that Innes Lloyd is good at, is doing the location stuff, picking interesting places for settings, setting all that up, making that happen. And there's lots of silly jeopardy. So you've got a Goldfinger style laser beam that's going to cut them to pieces. You've got the amazing plane that turns into a spaceship, which just transforms, stops, and then goes upwards. And I'm sure probably the model footage is quite clunky, but I could just picture how they would do that.
Oh yeah, I know. I would disagree with you. Yeah, it's really nice. I liked a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, the performances are really, really good. It's a good, solid cast, and they're all doing their stick really well. I love that we've got Wanda Ventham and the guy who plays Bayos in Time and the Rani united for the first time playing Captain Blade. He's really menacing and really good.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Donald Pickering, that's his name.
He's got a really creepy kind of face.
Yes, he has. He's
Did
made
he play
for
a lot
role
of Nazis?
Like I think he probably did. I think he was in
we
all
love
the
in American
big UK
films
action adventure series playing villains.
Oh my God! We in America, you could always tell who the Nazis were in a war movie because they were played by Brits.
British,
doing dodgy
villains.
German accents. So it was awful. I enjoyed it. It was one that I wish I could have. I've said this on the podcast before, but Flux is the first time I ever saw serialized Doctor Who in real time. Like where I had to wait a week.
Oh right, okay.
So that because this is one that is very much like a serial. It's a little more like a late 40.
Week.
I think
got
it
a
probably
mystery
work.
that you're exploring.
Yeah, I think it would work. I think I'd have gotten more out of it if I had to wait a week in between, because it's very structured that way, and which it should be because that's how it was made. All right. So now we're up to the last one, Evil of the Daleks.
Yeah.
You go first. What's your take on it?
Well, this is one of Doctor Who's epics, and sort of like the Daleks' master plan, this is the series doing everything. So we've got a story that is present day, followed by the past, followed by going into the far future on an alien planet. So it is doing all your Doctor Who tropes. It's got time travel. It's got the Daleks at their most fiendish.
They're really, really amazing in this.
We've got the Emperor of the Daleks for the first time with his big, booming voice. And just that scene where the Doctor walks in and he's tiny in this huge space, and there's this huge Dalek in the corner that's unlike any other Dalek. It's the first time we've seen a Dalek variation. It's a
beautiful. That's some great model work.
Yes,
that is stunning.
Really
the whole set in that house is great.
Yeah.
The coffee shop, to see the coffee shop read in the animated redesign. And did you get was it what was the Doctor Who special magazine? Was it the 68 or something?
Yes,
it was in the Chronicle, and you could see what they had done, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I loved it, and I think again, this is one we're seeing it with the animation. I mean, there's some really good reconstructions of this one.
Yes,
there are.
There was lots. There was a fairly late loose cannon one, wasn't there, where they did CGI Daleks gliding around.
And they had walked a woman. They had a young woman dresses and did back behind the.
That's right. Yes, they went to the original setting, didn't they, and recreated some scenes.
Yeah, but I think it's really, again, David Whittaker. So every episode is different. Every episode adds on to the next one. It's got a great guest cast. I've thought about letting my beard get really crazy, and if I ever go to another Doctor Who,
go as Maxtable.
because my beard has been like down to here, and I bald. It
Mhm.
would be easy. David Tennant's coming to Richmond in 2 months. Him and Catherine
wow.
Tate. So I may go get a picture of him, and I may have to dust off my Brig cosplay.
Yeah. Mhm.
But my wife said no. The beard sage, you can't. No cop, no cop stash. I went, okay, fair enough. But I love this one. I think it's also one of the best written I think it's one of the best written Dalek stories ever.
Yeah.
I think it holds up. The animation blew my mind. It allowed me to kind of get it, and it's got a brilliant reconstruction on the third disc.
Yeah.
It's a really
strong, isn't it?
Yeah, I watched it and I just thought I was going to throw it in and not really pay attention to it because I want to watch everything, and I was like, oh,
I think it's just the quality of the story.
Yeah, I'd watched that story 3 times in a week, and each time was great. I just think who plays her father? Let me pull that.
Oh, that's John Bailey.
John Bailey. I don't know him from anything else.
He's back in the Horns of Nimon.
Who is he in the Horn? Is he the?
He is Mazimum, the guy on the other planet that Romana investigates, where the Nimon.
Oh, I love him in that.
The last of them.
He's one.
Yeah, that's him.
Him and Graham Croydon are the only 2 good things in that story because they're so big. It's oh my goodness, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Oh, I also know him from I watched. He was in Holocaust, the American television miniseries, The Holocaust. He played Hans Frank. So yeah, I remember him in that because I was in high school during the year of the miniseries and the American TV. Those extra long. So it was, and Marcus Goring is Dr. Maxwell. It's just great.
Yeah, and they work really well together.
They do. The whole cast does. Seeing those scenes in the laboratory and seeing how distraught Victoria's father is. It's a wonderful performance. It's like I was watching it. It's like, okay, guys, this is Doctor. You're really doing some heavy lifting acting wise, and I appreciate it, but it throws you off. It's just wonderful. I want to kind of go back and watch a lot of David Whittaker's Daleks one time and do an episode just on David Whittaker. Get a couple people on, and then
there's a lot to unpick about what he does with the Daleks,
and just go through his because it's a little subset, because they're so much better than most everyone else.
Yeah,
I mean it's just not fair.
I mean just coming up with the Dalek and the human factor as something that is part of our makeup. It's so clever.
It's so cute. It's cute. It's this nice little light moment. Oh, we're playing trains. We're playing trains. It just let's lighten the mood, and then just because it gets really dark at the end.
Yeah, and then just the twist that discovering the human factor allows us to isolate what the Dalek factor is, so that we can then use this.
Oh yeah, when they turn Maxwell into one.
Brilliant, yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness!
And you think for a minute you've turned the Doctor into one as well, and
and that he can't tell them. He just has to trust his friends know him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good script. There's no fluff to it. It's 6 parts. Is it 6 or 7? 7 parts, and it doesn't feel like it.
No, and even what you could term the padding where Jamie and Kemmel are fighting and we're learning to work together, even that is really exciting and really
It is,
good
but
stuff.
I think it's character development. I have a problem that he doesn't speak.
Yes.
It's not cool. It's really not. No. But he's not played as
he's not an idiot.
He's not an idiot. He's smart. He just can't speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't understand that. They do it way too many times in this era.
Yeah.
It's because he's and I don't know because what was his accent? Did he have a Caribbean accent? No. Is he a Windrusher?
Really?
No, he's native born Brit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I work at a call center, and we've had an agent who a nurse complained about her, and we listened to the recording and went, oh, that nurse is a racist. Because this person has a country accent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I live in the South, and it's a predominantly African-American accent in this area.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you thought, because she was perfectly good. Her call was 100% accurate, and she was just doing her job. And when she asked you questions, that's part of her job, is to confirm what you said. Mm-hmm. But it's a weird thing that they do it. But I think watching it's not like other times where it's 60, you're going, oh, we could never do that again. This time it's like, I would have just let this guy talk, because him and Frasier, Jamie and him, they do form a bond, and that whole sequence serves a purpose.
Yes, definitely.
Because you have to know how much he loves Victoria.
Yeah, and there's a bond between Kemal and Victoria as well, which is really touching and lovely, and
they're great together.
Beautifully.
I think this is one of my favorite Deborah Watling performances. I think sometimes they don't give her. It's that thing about which Victoria are we writing for?
Yeah, are we writing dim Victoria or gutsy Victoria or scared Victoria? Which one are we doing this week?
Because this and Fury of the Deep changed my mind on Victoria in a lot of ways, and Abominable Snowman. Because Jamie's the idiot. She's like, can we leave? This is not a good idea. Yeah. She's great in them, and she's wonderful in this. All right, so here comes the part when we do seasons. So I'm going to ask you to go backwards.
Okay.
All right, now I'll let you go do the first one. Your 7th place story.
Okay, I think I would go with The Underwater Menace.
Oh,
although it's good fun, I think it is the weakest story of the season.
All right. Well, I'm going to say The Smugglers.
Okay.
Because I don't know it as well. So I have to give I gotta give Underwater's Menace, because I at least have been entertained. I've been more entertained by the Underwater Menace because I do like cheesy acting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll do 6. Underwater Menace.
Okay. For me, it would be The Highlanders, I think.
Hello.
Again, I think that's just because I don't know it as well as the others.
See, that's kind of why I put,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your 5th.
Would be The Smugglers.
Smugglers? Okay. Mine would be The Highlanders. Okay. Well, I kind of figured those 3 were going to be at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're
always going to be I've got to do bottom. 4th. I'm going to say... hold on. Back. I got to... Back. I had this, but I've changed my mind while talking.
Okay.
I reserved the right to... I'm going to have to say The Moonbase.
Okay.
All right. What's your 4th?
The 10th Planet.
Ooh. All right. But that's fair enough, because there are so many good ones on this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Your number... Is it 7? How many are there? They're not
9,
7.
I think.
9. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
9, 8, 7, 6. All right. Okay. So now we're on to 5. I will say The Faceless Ones.
I would say exactly the same.
Okay. All right. So 4.
The Moonbase.
Okay. I'm going to say 10th Planet.
Okay.
I did have to go that way. All right. Number 3. So what let's
Terror.
Macro Hugs. Sorry, that Love's Thump Bump was a 65-pound hound dog dancing for her breakfast dinner, and she fell down. I'm gonna say I'm gonna feel bad for this. I'm gonna say Power of the Daleks.
Okay.
All right, you're number 2.
Evil of the Daleks.
Okay, my number 2 is Macroterror.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1?
Power of the Daleks
is for
me.
you, and number 1 for me is Evil of the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. It was hard to pick.
It was, yes. That top 3, it could have gone any way because I love all of them.
I want to ask you this, so I want to ask this because we have so many of these. How much did the animation change your opinion on some of these?
Yeah, Definitely the Macroterror, particularly.
It
I
would
think
have been
really
bottom.
brought it to life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It would have been ninth for me.
Yeah, it would have been quite low for me before that, but that
Maybe eighth
was
under
just
Underwater.
magical.
Yeah, it is. It just they did it. Thank you, Simon. That was a lot of fun.
That was a pleasure.
Is this one of your favorite seasons now, or?
Do you know? I was thinking about this last night when I was doing my prep for this, and just thinking, I've come away from a season that I wouldn't have rated at all because I just didn't know the stories. Now that we've had all these animations and reconstructions, I've come away thinking this is one of the better 60s series. It's really varied. It's
It's unique.
It's doing lots. It's telling lots of different stories in lots of different ways, and you've got a cast of regulars who are really working together and creating brilliant characters. Patrick Troughton is coming in brand new, giving the just doing what he can. He doesn't know he's going to be a success. He doesn't know how long this is going to last, but he's such a quality actor that he creates something wonderful and gives us the show that we're still watching. And then you get Fraser Hines, Annika Wills, and Michael Craze all as really solid supporting companions, and yeah, it's just wonderful.
I am the same way. I think I would have not I think I wouldn't even try to rank this one. I would have gone. I don't know. I can't give you an answer. I get, and I haven't done a rewatch in a long time. And I got to the end of my last in classic rewatch and paused because I haven't really been in the mood to watch New Who except for Jodie for a few years. I mean, pandemic, it was a lot of but rediscovering old Who. Yeah. But I'm not the biggest fan of the season of monsters. I enjoy the individual stories, but it's kind of the same
story, different setting.
Yeah, it gets really old. And there's some in the last season that I really love. I love War Games. Mm-hmm. And I love the Mine Robber. It's one of my
Surprisingly, I really love the Crotons.
I do too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Philip Maddox in it.
It's wonderful.
It is. It was one of the few ones we had. I'm a little like Frasier. I have a soft spot for the Dominators. When we only had maybe 6 or 7.
You would watch what you had.
Oh, and I watched that one religiously. My brother used to give me hell for it. It's like, it's terrible. I went, shut up, man.
See,
the guy's in a diaper, man. The hero's wearing a diaper. But I think this is. I'd have a hard time not picking this as my favorite of his seasons, just because of the sheer heavy lifting he's doing. It's a wonderful performance. The animations brought these stories alive. I'm hoping that Bad Wolf Productions, with all the money they're getting from Disney and Sony and BBC, that they spend a little bit on doing what do. Let's have a Doctor Who channel inside the Disney app. I don't. People are going. Someone asked me, goes, "Oh, you think Disney's going to mess it up?" And I said, "Disney's just going to put it on there. They're paying for the content.
They're just buying the rights. They don't buying Doctor Who.
No. It's like Star Wars. They let Kathleen Kennedy run it, and basically Jon Favreau and David Filoni run it. They make the product. Marvel, you got to get Kevin Feige. He makes the product.
Yeah.
You've got Jane Tranter, Julie Gardner, Phil Dolan, and Russell T Davies, and I don't know who their American partner is. There's another woman who was one of the owners of Bad Wolf. They met her when they were doing that terrible season of Torchwood set in America. I haven't watched their Dark Materials, but I have a coworker who loves it, so I want to watch it. But I think I want them to do all this other stuff, and I hope they do more. I mean, do the Smugglers. Imagine what would happen to Who fandom if they did an animated Dalek Master Plan.
Oh God, it would be wonderful. Absolutely, yeah. Oh, it's the dream.
I'm a convert to that because I will say this. I'm going to say that Mark Cockrum's the reason I really love that one, because when they were doing that on All the Time and Space, they broke it in half, and I didn't listen to the first one, and I went and I used an Audible credit so I could listen to it on my phone, and I listened to it very intently, and I went, oh my God, what have I been missing? Because I'm a huge meddling. I want them to bring the Monk back on TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rufus Hound, please, or Gemma Whalen, please. Are you a big Finnish person?
I dip in and out these days. I was there for the early days, but these days there's just too much.
Oh yeah.
But I've heard all of them play the Monk, and
I'm a big
brilliant.
fan of his Monk, and and she's really good because she's even eviler, and I like her as an actress a great deal.
Yeah, she's great.
But I just want more animation. Well, thank you, Si. Hey, where can people find you? I know you're a guest on a lot of podcasts, so what you got coming up?
So you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Cy_Hart. You can hear me on episodes of Trapped One, where I'm one of the sort of revolving hosts on the podcast. You can hear me on more episodes of A Hamster with a Blunt Penknife than anyone else. I'll keep coming back to that one. And lots of episodes of Doctor Who literature with Jason Miller, which I'm really loving doing and revisiting the targets. But mostly you can hear me on my Blake 7 podcast, Maximum Power.
Oh, I plan on. I've only watched Blake 7 once. I watched it. I had a bootleg I got like 30 years ago, and I never watched it. And during the pandemic, I sat down and watched it, and I didn't, because I tried to watch it, and it didn't grab me at first. And then I, not forced, but I kind of went, you got to watch it all.
Just keep going. Yeah,
it's amazing. So I have not started listening to Maximum Power because I don't. It's like I can watch a Doctor Who podcast and not have to, because
you don't have to do the work.
It's in there. They're locked in there. Like I listen to Untitled Star Trek with Joe and Nathan, and I don't need it's a commentary podcast, but I've seen them enough to where I don't need. I know the story. But I really want to listen to that. I've found some. I've had to take a break from comic and Doctor Who podcasts because I do them. So I've been listening to history ones, and someone turned me on to a horror one. Folks, if you like scary stories, I want to recommend this one I'm thinking about. It's called Old Gods of Appalachia. It is an alternate history narrative set in the Appalachian Mountains with Lovecraftian gods coming out from the coal mines.
Wow. Oh, that sounds good.
And it's got very haunting bluegrass music in the background, and it's acted by 2 or 3 voices, and I've been listening to it. A coworker showed it to me, and it is really good storytelling, and that's
fantastic.
So it's worth it. Well, thank you, Cy. And folks, hey, you can find us here. This is going to go up this weekend. I'm kind of like behind, so I'm just recording stuff and putting it up. And next week, me and Vic will be back with Web of Fear. We are up to the introduction of the Brig. So, but folks, thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.